we'll say a slightly better driver than I was when I first started driving.
Good. Twice the pride, double the fall.
But you know, I've got some space, so with rev match like this, you just get it into gear, and you just go like that, and the car just kind of screams. Oh, well, I missed the shit. Let's say you're in the market for a sporty compact vehicle. You don't want to sacrifice your practicality, but you also don't want to sacrifice your manual gearbox. Honda over the past few decades has been really good at setting up cars in this market, specifically with the SI line of Civics. But is this one any good? And is this one the Civic Si for you? Today we're going to find out. This specimen here is a 2015 model year sedan, also known as the 9th generation, in the lost language of the Honda fanboys that translates to Fb6 for the sedan featured here, and FG4 for its two-door twin. The 9th gen Civic Si is powered by the Honda K24Z7, an all-aluminum naturally aspirated inline-4 producing 205 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 174 foot-pounds of torque at 4,400 RPM from the factory. The 9th gen Si was the last one to utilize natural aspiration, as the 10th gen and current 11th gen went to a smaller displacement turbocharged setup. Honda has a long tradition of injecting adrenaline and intrigue into their small front-wheel drive fuel-efficient cars, starting with the 3rd gen Civic CRX Si in 1985. It was only a matter of time before this happened, because you see, Honda Suichiro was racing cars back in the 1930s. After all, Honda Motor Company's second automobile, the S500, was a lightweight two-seater rear-wheel drive sports car. SI, according to Honda, stands for Sport Injection, a name that sounds about as ridiculously cheesy and cringeworthy as what you might find when you accidentally turn to the country music station on your radio. But let me put it this way. If the base model Civic is Fukumachi Sho, then the SI variant is Fukumachi Sho powered up with the Guyver armor. Not only does the 9th gen Si boast a significantly more powerful engine than its fuel-efficient cousin, it was offered with 4-wheel disc brakes as standard and only available with a 6-speed manual transmission. So, if you don't know how to drive stick, that was Honda's way of basically telling you LOL get good scrub. The best part about this transmission, however, is that all the 9th gen Civic SIs came standard with a helical limited slip differential, which means that, unlike one of its main competitors of the day, the Ford Focus ST, the Civic's power can actually be put down by minimizing torque steer. This greatly improves the stability of the vehicle during acceleration and increases the available grip during corners. And with a curb weight of 3,002 pounds and a 105.1-inch wheelbase, it's safe to say that the twisty back roads are the SI's natural habitat. But enough from me. Let's hear from the gentleman that actually owns the car. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the owner of the 2015 Honda Civic Si. This is my good friend Zach. Zach and I have known each other for years, since high school, back in the Blue Lake International days, playing jazz in Europe. Zach, how is it going?
It's going, my guy. It's amazing. It's a great day to be shooting.
Yeah,
excited to finally get this one off, man.
Yeah, we've been planning this literally for years.
Dude, we started like 2 years ago or something, man.
Yeah.
And I think it was before I even moved to Colorado or anything. And
yeah, you moved up to Colorado, and then we couldn't do it, and then you moved back, but then I was finishing up college, so it's just like now
this is unfinished business. This has to get done.
The time has come.
The time has come.
But yeah. All right, so
a legendary Civic.
It is a legendary Civic. We've had some good times with this car.
Indeed.
And some sketchy times with
Indeed.
this car.
Indeed.
But first question I actually want to ask you though, this is not the first car you've had, right? You've had quite a few other cars before this.
Yeah, I've had 2 other cars before I've had this car. I've had 2 other cars before I got this car. It was Mazda Speed 3, and then I got a Subaru WRX actually afterwards. It was a 2002 Bug-Eye. But this is like by far and beyond my favorite car. Absolutely.
What makes it the favorite? So I remember I briefly drove the Subaru, but I think that was just a bad specimen, excuse me, with like the weird shifter and everything. And then
Well,
I remember the Mazda Speed. I did like the low end torque. It reminded me a bit of Dan's Focus ST.
yeah, I'd say the most prominent thing about this car that's different. I mean, well, this is a front-wheel drive car. The Mazda Speed was as well, but this one has an amazing differential, dude. The limited slip differential on the Honda Civics is just untouched, unmatched by like any other front-wheel drive car. You get no torque steer just coming off, and it feels like you could add like several hundred horsepower to a build on like this platform, and you'd be able to like handle it with that differential.
I was gonna say, it is a really good handling car. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
you hear front-wheel drive and you think, oh, you can't build a sports car with a front-wheel drive drivetrain. It doesn't work with all the balance. But with Honda, they've continued to kind of try and prove that wrong. With the SI being kind of like their sporty model before you get up to the Type R, which is obviously a lot more track focused, a lot higher performance. It's got stiffer springs. It's got much bigger brakes. So that being said, what do you like the most about this car, and what do you hate the most about it?
I'd say my favorite thing about this car is just how it grips to like corners when you're accelerating through it. Once you hit the apex and you downshift through it, like it just sticks to the pavement. Absolutely.
Yeah.
My least favorite thing about it. That's a hard one, honestly. I love the car. If I had to choose like my least favorite thing about it, I'm looking around trying to figure something out, honestly.
You got him stumped.
Yeah,
you got him, boys. You got him.
Well, I like hatchbacks. I like
Okay.
I mean, like, I like the practicality of like having like a sporty hatch, and I think that this car like kind of could be a sporty hatch, and with the newest gen Civic, like it is a hatch.
Yeah.
But I mean, the ability to fold down the seats, I mean, I pretty much have all that. So I'm honestly, I'm at a lack for anything that I find that I hate about the car.
Okay. So it's like, you said your favorite car out of like the Mazda Speed 3 and the Bug-Eye WRX. Another question that I do actually kind of want to know is, you daily drive this car, what's it like as a daily? Because obviously you're not going to be, full blast every single day.
Fun. So fun. It's such a, like, I mean, it's a starter, like, kind of sporty car.
Yeah.
It's only 200 horsepower, so you can actually kind of, like, rip it through town. And
Without
you're not
getting-
really, like,
getting in trouble.
speeding or anything, doing anything crazy. So it's, I mean, you can give it pretty much, like, a good, like, 60% of, like, what it's got, like, just, like, driving it every day. And that's, dude, I've driven it for about 80,000 miles, and honestly, I've just kind of ripped it the whole time. And it's held up the whole time, minimal maintenance, like, pretty much just only oil changes, brakes, and tires. And,
Okay.
dude,
So
the car's-
reliability is strong.
Absolutely.
Fun car to drive. How does your MPGs look? Because especially with the climate.
Okay,
now,
so that would probably be the one thing I'm like a little bit not great with this car. The
Okay.
MPGs are fine. It does like prefer premium fuel, and like that right now is
that high compression ratio with those K series.
about like $1.75 more right now, which is
I know.
kind of a lot.
Now, if someone was in the market for one of these cars, what would you recommend they kind of watch out for? And would you recommend, like, say they want their first car, something a bit sporty, but something that's not going to quote-unquote kill them? Would you recommend one of these cars, yes or no, and why?
Yes, probably no though as well. But I think it's a great like first car if you're not like too skilled of a driver. I personally feel like this car like doesn't let me like have as much fun as I'd like to in certain times, but
Okay.
it's still a very fun car to have. It's like super like handling oriented, and that's like amazing. But at the end of the day, I feel like if you are like a skilled driver, you can kind of go up a little bit from this. This is a great daily driving car. If
Okay.
you like something that's sporty and you just kind of want a little bit more fun in your day-to-day life when you're driving around. But for something more like performance-based, or even something that you could take to a track, I'd say something like a little bit more power would be like really nice for that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one final question for you that kind of just popped into my head just now, so I apologize.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's the last minute. What made you choose this car over something that would be like in the competing market, say like a Ford Focus ST, for example?
So I actually drove a Fiesta ST before I drove this car as like a test drive. I was thinking about buying that instead. And honestly, with the mods that the previous owner had done to the car, the exhaust was just incredibly loud, and it was all rattly. It was not a great build. It sounded like a fart can exhaust, but yeah, it was pretty bad. But I did like how the ST handled, but it didn't feel as like driver oriented as this car. I've driven this car from Michigan to New York to Colorado to California, Seattle. Like this car is like a lot of mountain roads and stuff. This car has pretty much been like from one coast of the country to the other, and like all through the mountains everywhere pretty much. And there is not a car that I would rather have for reliability and just like having fun every day that I'm driving. So that's why I love the car. That's why I have it for sure.
Sounds good, Zach. All right, let's get her on the road.
All right, sounds good. I mean, you've already driven it before, but you're about to drive it again.
The time has come.
And so it was time to venture onto the open road. But as per usual, we needed some rolling shots. So Dan fired up the Bronco, I grabbed my camera, and Zach hopped back into the Fb6 to do what he does best.
Yes!
Let's talk about the styling, because it seems there are two types of people when it comes to the looks of the 9th Gen Civic. You either like the subtlety of the design, or you think it looks like a Honda Odyssey. I rather like the styling here. It's not excessive like something you'd find in Need for Speed Underground, yet it isn't conservative, plain, and improperly proportioned like the 11th Gen Civic. There seems to be a subtle rage in the front-end styling of the car that hints at its performance pedigree, with the only other hints being the rear discs and SI badge in the front and rear, as well as the factory wing and back. That means that in the wake of the average Michigan NPC, it'll look like a normal Civic, which is a good thing because you can enjoy the dynamic abilities of the car without triggering the Los Santos Police Department. And if you happen to think that the sedan styling throws the pompous strutting of the Civic off balance, well, there is always the option to grab one with 2 less doors. Styling can and always will be something that is subjective, but don't let that distract you from the fact that Hector just ordered 3 T66 turbos and NOS. I suppose that means it's time to get behind the wheel before Hector actually shows up.
As opposed to, say, like, for example, I have a Gen 7 Celica GTS, and that's got a...
Whoa. Hold up. Let me fix this real quick.
1.8.
Yeah.
Power-wise, it's similar. It's making about 180 versus this is at like 205. But when you have that larger displacement, this is 2.4, the torque is just that much more usable.
Yeah, I think I'm making like around, I believe it's close to 180 torque.
Yeah, just in the lower end, I can already tell it pulls much harder than that car did. The high end, well, that's to be determined. When I get it running, guys, it died.
Well, the beauty is, like, when I get it in 6th gear, I pretty much just stay in 6th gear on the highway, and I can floor it, and I'm getting more, like, pickup than most, like, other cars on the road and everything, so...
Yeah.
I don't really have any problem passing people without shifting gears or anything when I'm on the highway.
Yeah, I gotcha. That Ram just went past us. He's like, you're not allowed to film.
Or maybe the rotors are EBC, and then the pads are something else, but the pads are called yellow stuff, I know.
Okay, running a ceramic pad then?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, 'cause the brakes feel amazing in this car. But you know, I've got some space, so you rev match like this. You just get it into gear.
Hey, there you go.
And you just go like that. And the car just kind of screams. Oh, well, I missed a shift. I pulled his Zach.
It happens in this thing.
Yeah, I guess the shift lever could be a little bit more accurate. It feels a little bit too loose for my liking, but this is a factory one, right?
Yeah, so I was thinking about just getting the upgraded short throw shifter, man.
Okay. Well, there's this guy in like a base model, like a ZX3. Oh no! bad, but then you gotta remember this isn't necessarily a full-on track car. So with the spacing between the brake and the gas pedal, if you really want to stretch your foot out to the right, you can heel toe. Unlike in my Celica, for example.
Tricky, honestly.
Yeah, so like, unlike in my Celica, for example, trying to do the heel toe, that doesn't work at all. It's too far apart. This car, if I stretch a little bit, I can get it.
Well, with the, I mean, yeah, with heel towing in this car, it's like a little bit easier probably, but it's still pretty difficult, man. And you got a lot of stretch to make up there.
But, you know, again, that's because it's a road car. It's supposed to be like, how do I put it? This is a car that you want to daily, but it's also a car that is supposed to be fun to drive. Now, don't expect to win any drag races, despite having that extra displacement.
I've won my fair share, you know, off the line. It's not too bad, but...
Focus is not having it. He's riding us, look. Okay, but, you know, you're not going to exactly be winning many drag races in this car.
No, not exactly.
This car is built for cornering. Now, it's like, oh, there it is. I'm missing gears left and right.
No, I know, man. It's happening.
You see the
that
thing?
shift just doesn't feel right down the fourth, honestly. Like second as well. Like when you're going first to second, that shift kind of feels a little weird.
Yeah, you do like. I don't know.
I love the second to third shift, man.
If you've driven this car, let us know. What do you think about the shifter? I think it's not as accurate as it could be, but it's also I'm not like Michael Schumacher or Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, but this thing isn't that accurate though. I mean, like, and you'll miss the second gear shift a lot of the time when you're really trying to slam it.
Yeah.
In the second.
So like right there, when you like rev match and it goes in, it's perfectly fine.
Oh yeah.
As I'm talking about earlier, yeah.
Don't get too cocky.
You gotta be very
Shifts.
deliberate, and I've realized like taking shifts slower in this car can kind of like, you can get a little bit more speed sometimes if you just take a little second to rev match and just like get it right, get it locked in.
What's your favorite part about like this power plant? I have one.
Like, I hate the word potential, but I love the potential of this car.
Okay.
I love the fact that it's like a 2.4 naturally aspirated rather than a 2.0. So you could, like, realistically, you could get close to like 250 horsepower out of a NA build in this car.
Okay.
And, I mean, that's kind of where I'm getting to the point where I'm going to start doing some stuff like that.
Well, you know, with like the K24s, nice bike, what people like to do is you go with the K28 top end, K24 bottom end, so now you have the advantage of the high revving cams and stuff, plus the advantage of the extra displacement.
Oh yeah.
So like if I just gun it here, there we go. That's not bad.
There we go. That was a good shift. There it is. Yes, sir. And we off.
So let's talk about that shifter because something wasn't right. Specifically going from third to fourth, it felt as though the car was hesitant or nervous. There was no grinding, and I'm not a pro racing driver like Lewis Hamilton, but it shouldn't be easier for me to shift gears in Tyler Hodnett's drift missile than in a factory Honda Civic. Zach and I think that perhaps due to the fact that he's driven the car quite aggressively for 80,000 miles, it could be premature wear on the linkage or shifter bushings. I can't confirm this as it's only a theory, but I'd love to hear from anyone that has one of these cars because the car had much more accurate throws when I first drove it years ago. Of course, it could also be that I was being a huge baka and shifting too fast, but I digress. I quite like how this car behaves. This car is about as responsive and accurate as a Gundam's laser targeting system. However, it's at the cost of feedback. Let me explain. The Fb6 uses an electronic power steering setup. The steering itself is about as weightless as Jigglypuff, which is fine for a road car, I suppose, however it feels numb. You see, I believe that the suspension system is responsible for not only keeping the car in check, but also having the job of delivering that feedback to the driver. In the case of the front wheels, the steering rack is the driver's direct connection to what's going on beneath, and, well, the rack setup in this car feels like it's tuned to remove any sort of vibration and unwanted movement from road imperfections, as opposed to communicating those imperfections to the driver for minute corrections. I can understand why though, because the Civic Si is not an outright track car. Therefore, it doesn't get or need all the bells and whistles of the Type R variants. That makes the SI an excellent daily. It's practical like a normal Civic and entertaining enough for the enthusiasts without you wishing you had more power. It gets 26.5 combined MPGs, and it even has all the usuals you'd expect from a modern car, like Bluetooth and auxiliary input. It has a backup camera and even has cameras built into the mirrors that activate when the turn signals come on, so you can see who's tailgating you. And that limited slip differential makes the car handle better than its open diff competitors, not just in a performance setting, but in low traction situations as well. You know, kind of like how when Michigan becomes blanketed in snow and you half expect an AT-AT walker to creep around the block. All in all, it's a great package for a daily. So, by now you've decided that you actually want to buy one. Should you? Absolutely. Can you? Well, you see, the original MSRP for a 2015 SI sedan was $23,090, while the two-door was listed at $22,890. Both of these are before options and the like. That being said, the car market right now for both new and used vehicles is about as volatile as Kylo Ren, which means that it's hard to find a decent price off the lot. The first car I saw in my search was a two-door for about $17,000, which in hindsight doesn't seem that bad until you realize that the car has just under 130,000 miles on it. That's a hard pill to swallow, especially when 6 years ago my Celica was $5,000 with 120,000 miles on the clock, and that car has a 2ZZ GE in it. As per usual with cars, the lower the mileage, the higher the price. For example, the asking price on this two-door here is basically at the original MSRP. I know that Honda has an excellent reputation for their reliability, and I actually couldn't find any official recalls for the 9th Gen Civic Si, which is a good thing, but SI-badged Civics tend to get beat on pretty hard, so you'll want to make sure there's a good record of the maintenance. I should also mention that you can always try to find a private seller, as they usually tend to have more reasonable prices. All in all, this is an excellent package for a performance-oriented daily, and a good choice for first enthusiasts-oriented shoppers looking to get their feet wet. Yo, what's going on? Just want to say as the usual, thanks for watching. Leave a subscribe, leave a like, and tell me what you liked about the video. If you didn't like the video, then as per usual, thank you very much for putting up with it and watching this long. Leave a dislike, tell me what you didn't like about it. Zach, my man, hope you're doing well. We've been trying to get this done for years and finally got it done, so, you know, share the crap out of it, man. Hopefully we can do more projects in the future. Thanks for letting me film and drive your car as always. And, you know, Dan, Dave, thanks for helping out with the filming and stuff like that. Also, yeah, just want to say thanks to, you know, friends and family that are always watching. And supporting the channel and stuff like that. So, you know, like, for example, my buddy Joe, Tim, Amadio, Eric, Hannah, and, you know, always going through watching all the videos and stuff like that. But yeah, I apologize for all the ums. I don't write these portions, I just kind of do them live. And as you can see, it is pitch black outside, It is 10:21 p.m. I'm tired because I had a long shift at work. Fortunately, I'm not doing the 6-day work weeks. It's down to 5, which is good, but then, you know, we're understaffed, so now everyone in the front and at the garage is like pulling all the extra weight and stuff like that, so is what it is, I guess. But yeah, so as per usual, I'll show you guys a preview of the next vehicle that's getting a review. That being said, I just want to make it clear that when I preview the next vehicle getting a review, that doesn't necessarily mean that will be the next upload. So, for example, I plan on uploading kind of like a showcase of some of the cool stuff I saw down at the Dream Cruise back in August. That'll probably be uploaded first before the next review gets uploaded. But yeah, that being said, the next review is another motorcycle. So for all the motorcycle people that came from like the Boulevard and the Shadow Comparison and the Ninja 400, this one's going to be kind of cool. My buddy Show got his hands on it. The bike itself has seen better days, but he got it for dirt cheap, and he's already started cleaning it up. But we were like, hey, we're running out of time before we start getting snow and stuff like that. So we're like, screw it, let's just shoot it. But yeah, it's a bike that's not seen too often here in the States, at least not here in Michigan. I imagine you might see more of them like in California or something. But yeah, I'll go ahead and show you guys the preview. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon in the next one. Oh, real quick, as far as uploads go, with having to work a 9 to 5 and everything, that's where most of my time is during the week. So my goal is to at least have one video up a month. That is the goal, if I can keep the content coming. But it's a combination of being able to persuade people to let you film and drive and or ride their vehicles and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll show you guys the preview. Peace.
I always daydreaming, never imagined I lose my spark. Living in this crazy time, putting back the pieces of my mind. I know how to run from the dark and fly. Take a breath, feel my wings spread, levitate into the clouds. I'm so high above the ground, I'm rising. I'm soaring above it all. I just wanna be free. Finally, I wanna be free. I wanna be free. I wanna be free.
Yeah, did you remember how to drive yet?
Nah, I'm still trying to figure it out, dude. We're flying by the seat of our pants right here.
Is that Honda VTEC there, mate? They're like high revving 4 cylinders. Is that how you feel? Boy.
Fucking learn how to drive again. I
Join me, and together we can rule the algorithm as content creator and subscriber. No way, you'll never be as good as Doug DeMuro. No!